Alrighty boys, welcome back to another video. Now today's video we're going to be talking about the USG-90, otherwise known as the P90. Now in terms of the attachments for this weapon, I always run flash hider on all of my weapons. This gun actually has extremely low recoil, so the main attachments that you want to focus on are the heavy extended and the hollow points. And then the other thing that I wanted to quickly mention is that one of the laser sights that you get by maxing out this weapon is actually going to be a blue laser sight that improves your hipfire and your accuracy while moving. So if you want the best aim possible with this weapon, putting on that laser sight might actually be the best method to going about that, because you get accuracy while moving, and when you have a very high rate of fire gun that has a lot of bullets in the magazine, typically you are going to be moving a lot when you are taking gunfights. Like I think in all of my gunfights in this game, I very rarely stand still, so I do highly recommend to grab that if you are struggling with the recoil or anything like that on this weapon. This gun doesn't really have that much recoil, so you'll probably be okay even without it, and that way you don't have to expose yourself by using that laser sight. Now one thing I do want to mention though is that the first laser sight that you get on pretty much every gun in this game does not or is not visible to enemy players, so I would recommend putting on that one, because then you're going to still get some decent hipfire bonuses, and it'll just be nice overall to have a laser sight on the weapon. It just makes it like feel better, if that makes sense. But the other thing that I want to quickly mention is that since the P90 is already extremely low recoil and has 50 bullets, this is actually probably one of the better SMGs to like start out with. Now one thing I do want to say is that it is kind of a pea shooter, but I do think the rate of fire with the bullet velocity makes it like a pretty solid option. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that since you do only have a 50 round magazine from the get-go, or I really shouldn't even say only, because 50 rounds is kind of nuts if you want me to be honest. It's basically an LMG, but it's an SMG, so you're getting a movement speed buff as well as the like crazy hip fire, you know what I mean? So one of the things that I noticed is that this is one of those guns where if you run into a full squad, like maybe you're flanking or you're just coming across a full squad, you always have the potential of killing everybody, because you don't have to obviously take any time to reload. You can just keep taking more and more gunfights. And so that would be like the main thing that I wanted to talk about with this weapon. Like the main problem with most LMGs in this game is that they have a very long reload time, and with the P90 you don't really have that long of a reload time. So what ends up happening is that you can take a gunfight, take another gunfight, take another gunfight, and then you reload in like 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden you're back into the fight right away. You know what I mean? With an LMG, you're usually spending a lot more time reloading, making sure you have good position. If you're not on the support class, then you have that movement speed debuff. So, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of downsides, but with the SMG, the P90, you can pretty much run this on pretty much any class, and you're probably in really good shape. And like I said, the hipfire is already pretty nasty on this gun, so you don't really need a laser sight on it. And like right here in these clips, by the way, most of the time I'm gonna be on support, which is not even the class that gets the benefited hipfire. Like on engineer, I believe you get a little bit of bonus like hipfire, but this gun already has like pretty insane hipfire, so you don't even need to be on that class to make use of this weapon, in my opinion. Now, in terms of meta, I know a lot of people care about meta. I don't want to say that this weapon is going to be like the meta weapon or anything like that. I would like to say that it's probably worse than the Vector. But the one thing I will say is that like in this type of game, you don't really have to worry about meta like that. Because like I said, not every situation is just going to be a straight up just 50-50 gunfight. Most of the time, you're going to be, you know what I mean, looking for like a flank. You're going to be working around your teammates. You're going to be playing with your squad. You're going to, you know what I mean? Like it's very rare where you're just in a straight up 50-50 with just like no external factors. So in terms of meta, I would say that this gun would probably still lose to the Vector, but in my opinion, it's a lot more enjoyable than using the Vector, and the reason why is because, like I said, you have that potential of taking on like a lot of gunfights all at one time, and with guns like the Vector, you don't really have that potential, especially when you're just leveling up the Vector. You're going to be stuck at that 18 bullets to the 23 bullets to the 27 bullets, you know what I mean? And this gun has pretty much doubled that, so when you're flanking like a big enemy team, like 5 people, 4 people, whatever, you're going to be able to basically kill or wipe the entire group with just one magazine, and it'll just be really useful. And if you're really need more bullets, then you always have the pistol as your as an alternate option. Now, the other thing that I want to mention with this gun is that you do have extremely low recoil as well. So when it comes to long-range gunfights, you don't have to be right in their face to be able to hit your shots. In my opinion, you can definitely be in a nice mid to long range and still be able to kill a lot of people all at one time. Like I said in my other videos though, DICE is going to be working on the bloom for this game, so there is a really high chance that a lot of the SMGs aren't going to be as accurate in the future from the mid to long range. Now I imagine they're not going to just go ahead and just kill the weapon outright and just make it so you can't use it at all from the mid to long range. I imagine what's going to end up happening is that you're probably just going to have to tap fire or burst fire to be able to hit people from the mid to long range in this game. Because the one thing that I notice right now is that I'm definitely able to basically full auto people on mid to long range. However, I imagine what they're going to probably end up doing with the bloom is they're probably going to make it a little bit less like laser beamy when it comes to the like long range or mid range gunfights. So what I'd highly recommend doing is that whenever they do that, just go ahead and focus on burst firing or tap firing the gun, and you'll probably be okay. Because usually in this game, when you are taking mid to long range gunfights, you're going to be mostly focused on just tap firing, burst firing to go ahead and get those longer range kills. Because as you can see here, right now you can pretty much full auto and you'll be okay for most long range gunfights. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that since you do have 50 bullets, you really don't need to like burst fire that much, at least right now, because of the fact that you have so many bullets. There's a lot more room for mistakes, if that makes sense, during the gunfight, since you do already have 50 bullets. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention was the suppressor as well. You could actually run a suppressor on this weapon, and it would also be a pretty valid option as well. It's just like one of those weapons right now where it's like, since you don't have like any other magazines to like spend your like attachment points on, you actually can go pretty crazy with a lot of the attachments. Like I said, the blue laser sight I think would help with your accuracy while moving. Obviously with the blue laser sight you're going to be giving up your position whenever people do see that blue laser sight, so that's why I recommend using the red laser sight that you get from the beginning. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is the long laser sight, or excuse me, the long suppressor is one of those suppressors that doesn't reveal your position on the map, so you could also just go for like a full-on like kind of stealthy build where you don't run flash hider, or excuse me, you don't run the flashlight and you don't run any of the crazy laser sights, and then you could just run like the suppressor, and then you're in pretty good shape. You have a really strong overall weapon that has pretty much no recoil, so that's what I would recommend if you do want to give that a try. The biggest thing that I noticed that is probably the strongest thing to put on most of your weapons in this game is going to be those hollow point rounds. Those are going to be like the main thing that's going to make your weapons more powerful, especially on the SMGs, because when you have these SMGs with very high rate of fires, you're going to want basically as much headshot damage as you can possibly guess. And since you have such a high rate of fire, there's a really good chance when you are shooting at people that you are going to be getting a lot of headshots just randomly, just from like the high rate of fire just in general. Now, the other thing that I wanted to quickly mention is that with this gun, you actually have a lot of potential of just straight pre-firing people, especially when they're pushing you like around like corners or anything like that. You do have a lot of potential of just straight up just pre-firing people around corners. Like something that I noticed myself doing a lot is that if I saw somebody on the minimap around a corner, I would start shooting before I got to see them like visually, and I would actually just get the kill on them straight up right before they could even like shoot back basically. Now, I mentioned this in my other videos, but I'm the type of player where I play spawn beacon on assault, I play support, and I get into the thick of it. Now, the one thing that I want to mention is that when you do play like that, you actually have a lot of potential of getting into a lot of like flank positions, especially if you are running the spawn beacon. So what I would like to do with my playstyle is that typically I will look for some kind of like flank on like objectives, put a spawn beacon there, and then what I'll do is I'll constant flank enemy players and basically be able to wipe like full squads by myself with this weapon, because obviously since you have that 50 bullets, you don't have to spend any time reloading, and you can pretty much just shoot people like fish in a barrel basically, and just get free kills for pretty much like an entire game if you have like a really good spawn beacon spot And like I said earlier, the other class that I play a lot is actually support. So what I do is I like to run with my squad members, everybody on support. And what we'll end up doing is when one teammate goes down, we kill the enemy player that killed that person, we defib them, and we just keep that train going into like really high traffic objectives. Like for example, on this map, what we'll do is we'll just constantly pressure the C objective, and we'll just constantly revive each other. We have the smokes on support, so we can just constantly get the revives off and basically just keep putting pressure on objectives and take those objectives that are really crucial to win the round. The P90 is really nice for this because obviously you can take multiple gunfights at one time. And like I said, if you're working together with your team, maybe you have like a spawn beacon, maybe you're just walking up on a flank on enemy players, you're going to have potential of just wiping full teams. And then when you're on support, you have the smokes, you can revive your teammates. It's all like really, really strong, and it's just like really, really fun as well. So I highly recommend giving this weapon a try because I do feel like it is one of those weapons that's like, it's not quite meta, I want to say. Like, I don't think it compares to like the M4 carbine or the Vector for the SMG, but like I said, you have way more bullets, way less recoil, so it's just like a lot more enjoyable in that department because you're able to just basically just run around like a madman and just kill like multiple people at one time. Like I said, you only do 20 damage, 900 fire rate, 50 bullets in the mag. So you do got to keep in mind that this gun can be a pea shooter at times. However, for some reason with this gun, with the high rate of fire and the high bullet velocity, you don't really notice like the pea shooter aspect of it. You might notice it a little bit when you first start using the weapon, but most of the time it's pretty strong overall. So highly, highly recommend to use this weapon and give it a try and try to wipe those really big squads because it is really, really enjoyable to get those fancy plays where you kill a whole squad by yourself. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any feedback, leave it down below. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.